Hey everybody, and welcome back to Nerd Radio, your national NerdNet Radio Direct. I'm your host, Nick. Here with me today is my buddy.
Hey guys, it's Kevin. How you guys doing?
All right, and we have a nice special little treat for everybody. We are doing all the Naughty Dog games that we can get our hands on. There's some weird, like I went back in Naughty Dog's history, and there's some weird like PC games that like super old, way before they did Crash, and I'm like, I don't really feel like, going to DOS and trying to get those downloaded. So the ones we can get a hold of, we're going all the Naughty Dog games and we're going to rank them, from best to worst or whatever. So this week we're starting with Crash. And then every 2 weeks we're going to feature the next game in the series. So Crash, Crash 2, 3, Crash Team Racing, which they didn't do the fourth Crash, which is, I want to say, what was that one called? I don't know. It was PlayStation 2. I think it was actually done by like Telltale Games and not Naughty Dog. So it's like we're only doing the Naughty Dog ones, which is also why we're going to be doing Crash Team Racing, but not Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled or the other PlayStation 2 one, because that one also was not done by Naughty Dog.
It would have been Crash Bash, actually.
Actually, yes, there is a Crash Bash. That one
that was the
Mario Party one.
Because it was Crash Bandicoot, Cortex Strikes Back, Warped.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
CTR, Crash Bash, and then Wrath of Cortex.
Wrath, that's it. Okay, so
the Wrath of Cortex, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. I always forget about that one. Much like everybody else does.
Yeah, no, it took me a minute. I was sitting here and I'm like, well, dadgummit.
Dadgummit.
I know there's a name for that title. We'll figure it out.
So then we'll go on to Jak and Daxter, when the Jak trilogy, technically quadrilogy because there is a racing games, and Naughty Dog did do that one. Yep. But we're going to cover CTR and Jak X on the same episode because I just feel like one for timing, the timing's going to be a little bit. So we might not play through the entire 2 games of those, but we'll at least get a lot of hours into them so we can get a real good feel for them again. Most of this is going to be about our nostalgic rememberings and also how it was replaying them, because we want to feel fresh, but also at the same time, like remastered, there's, some things that we'll have to talk about. And so, and then same thing with Uncharted. We're going to be playing the Uncharted collection, which is out on the PlayStation 4. You can get the Uncharted, HD, which it was HD before, how it is. And then Uncharted 4, Lost Legacy, and then The Last of Us. Even though The Last of Us was released before Uncharted 4, we're basically setting it up so that The Last of Us comes out on the day of The Last of Us 2, so that then that'll give us 2 weeks to finish that one, and then boom, come out with another episode. And there you go. You got all the Naughty Dog games. We rank them. Today is going to be really easy because since we've only done one game so far, it's number 1, but it is not going to stay there very long. That's for darn sure.
No.
But right before we get started, let's go ahead. Twitter, you can go to @TX3 Productions on Twitter or ThreadX3 Productions on Instagram. And obviously you can catch this on our YouTube, which is ThreadX3 Productions. I almost said .com, but ThreadX3 Productions on YouTube. So
.com. Yeah, no. Sorry.
So we got some basic info we can get out of the way. Crash Bandicoot was released in 1996. It's a franchise. It's a platformer. The series was originally created by Andy Gavin and Jason Rubin during their tenure at Naughty Dog for the Universal Interactive Studios. It was originally published by Sony Computer Entertainment. I always, like, in my mind, I just remember starting up Crash Bandicoot. Created and developed by Naughty Dog.
What an iconic opening for a game.
Right? Yeah. Love it. The series has appeared on multiple platforms. Once again, we are technically only, at least when it comes to Crash, we're only covering the PlayStation ones. It's gone through various developers, which I think what it means by that is it went to, it looks like Eurocon.
Yes, Eurocom.
Traveler's Tales. That's the one that was the PlayStation 2. Dimps. I wonder what Dimps did. Dimps, I bet it was one of those mutant one. You remember those? You use the map, you use the mask to take over a mutant, and then you could like fight with it.
You know, I'm trying to remember that.
Vaguely. Although, no, it also could have been one of the Game Boy ones. There was a Game Boy Crash Bandicoot. Once again, not Naughty Dog, so, we're just talking about Crash Bandicoot in general.
there was a Game Boy, and I am trying to think of what it was. I may have to end up going to the Googles.
Yeah.
To find that.
Yeah, because there was a Crash Bandicoot, and also there was a
Crash Boom Bang, 2006 is what it's saying.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I think there was even one where Crash Bandicoot and Spyro like had a crossover where like Crash went into the Spyro universe and Spyro went into the Crash universe. I like that's really? Either true or it's a Mandela effect.
Yeah,
I could totally see that.
We're gonna go for Mandela effect, but on the safe side.
I swear it's a Berenstain Bear kind of thing going on here. So we got the protagonist of the series is the genetically enhanced Bandicoot named Crash, who has a quiet life on Wampa Island and is often interrupted by the game's main antagonist, which is Dr. Neo Cortex.
Oh, by the way, Crash Purple. It was Crash Purple and Spyro Orange, Cortex Conspiracy, and Ripto's Rampage.
Mm-hmm.
So
there you go.
Those are what those were. Coming out June 3rd of 2004 by Vicarious Visions, actually.
Oh, wow. That's interesting, since they're the one that ended up remastering at least the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy. So that's
publishers Vivendi and Konami.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, a little Google research on that one.
A little fun fact for you people out there.
Fact for you.
Let's see here. There's a lot of stuff here. I'm not going to read through all of it.
Well, you're not gonna wiki read them.
I'm not gonna Ricky recite.
Wiki plagiarism.
I wouldn't want to leak anything.
I don't know if that's funny anymore.
It's totally funny. Oh. It is as relevant as today as it was, 3 years ago.
My FBI agent just texted me and said it's not.
Oh, okay. Well, you look at you and your bad self.
I'm not bad. I'm good. That's why I have an FBI agent. Bad would be CIA. Duh.
So Crash Bandicoot 1, that's the one we were playing. Yep. That was our first game we played, exclusive on the PlayStation. Then technically it went to the other ones because of Vicarious Vision. Freaking traitors. But let's start off with, the first time you played this. So not your replay that we just did, but kind of like your first experience was this and what you thought about it.
I mean, back in the day,
back in my day.
Yeah, right. I mean, you got to think about it. I'm 31. So back in the day, getting into PlayStation 1. So I came out of a generation where we were just leaving the Nintendo brick. We hit the SNES, we had the Game Boys, then we got the 64, and then coming out of the 64 era was the PlayStation, man. That's what that's what I came into. Well, I guess kind of same time as 64-ish that PlayStation was hitting the market, Dreamcast-ish. And the turn 2 games at the time for my age bracket was Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon.
Right.
You had Crash and Spyro. Those were really the games that you played, and Crash Bandicoot was my lean on. Solid platformer, great cartoon style. Offered a challenge my mom would play. I mean,
interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I have a mom that's currently 60-something years old. Well, back in the day, Grandma got down on the coot. I don't know if I should say that out loud in public. So
before the diabetes got to her,
she was getting down on the coot. So, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be chastised for that. But no, I mean, Crash Bandicoot in the day. Now, there wasn't. I don't think I ever 100% completed Crash Bandicoot, and I'm going to be honest with you, I still haven't 100% completed it because when you start getting towards the end levels, woof, man, right?
Yeesh.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's some stuff, it's like I'm literally counting in like milliseconds to get timing down.
Right, yep.
It literally does come down to that. And as a kid, there was a severe challenge, but I'm going to be honest with you, I got stuck and I played the first, I don't know, 4 or 5 levels 100 times as a kid. Right. I made it past those levels second time around. But in the first time around, that's what it was. But the game was still fun. There was still a lot of replayability as a kid. Again, cartoon style, and me being a dummy, didn't know anything else about video games. I'm like, I'm staying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, video games back then were cheaper. Well, I mean, it didn't cost me $60 to play Crash Bandicoot. I'll tell you that.
Very true.
I'll tell you that. And this was a game that my parents were happy to spend money on. I mean, kids nowadays are asking for games that are even beyond my bounds of relativity. Like, I'm, looking at the game, like, I don't know. My son, I got an 8-year-old, and the stuff he plays, I'm like, I don't get this. And I try to connect with him, but I don't. But he has no idea that I played Crash Bandicoot as a kid. So when he saw me playing it as an adult, I was like tearing through the levels. And he goes, whoa, have you played this before? And I'm like, nah, man, this is my first time. And he goes,
trying to get brownie points from your 8-year-old.
Heck yeah, man. Hey, I gotta be cool some way, right? And if being good at Crash Bandicoot is the thing, I'm doing it, right? Got to earn that respect. But when I was his age, I mean, that's kind of my point here, because I have a kid that was my age. While I'm playing this as an adult, he's looking at it from my eyes at his age. Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and actually, you know what? You're right, because we were both born 88, correct?
Yeah, 88.
Yeah, 88, and it came out 96. That's literally 8 years. So, yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, him and I were looking at the same game, and to see the entertainment in his eyes put me in my childhood. That took me back.
Yeah.
And I felt like a kid again playing it. Him and I made it about 3/4 of the way together, but
nice.
I guess you asked me about old days, but I kind of it bled into modern just because as a kid, I mean, let's be honest, I didn't have a lot of taste. I didn't really know what I was doing. So there can't be a lot said about it other than.
So you say Crash Bandicoot has no taste? What's wrong with you? I
think it's like a lot of taste. It's just not like tomato basil. It's more like garlic onion.
It's like ketchup.
It's like ketchup and mustard. So no, but seeing my kid enjoy it brought me to my childhood and made me remember what I did like about it. And what I did like about it was, it's colorful.
It's a lot of colors and moving pictures.
A lot of moving parts, and I like that. But the story that they did give you, which isn't a big story, was enough to hook me as a kid. And as an adult, I didn't really need the story. I'm like, heck yeah, let's platform the crap out of this.
Right.
But at the same time, I enjoyed it more now than I think I did then. I think I respect it more now than I did then.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, looking back on it, it's like games are just made differently now.
Yeah.
Like, the equivalent nowadays would be like something that's doing a throwback to Crash Bandicoot. That's doing a throwback to 3D
Limbo?
platformers.
Not even Limbo. Not even Limbo, but I mean, it's hard to even pinpoint because there's so many games out there that are platformers that have evolved beyond the relativity of what Crash Bandicoot was or is.
Yeah.
It's hard to put it out there.
I remember my first time playing it. It was kind of just, it was a secondary experience. It wasn't like it was my Crash Bandicoot and I played through it. Funnily enough, the Crash Bandicoot 2 was actually the first one like I played all the way through. Crash Bandicoot 1, I want to say I actually watched more somebody playing it than actually playing it myself. I think they gave me the controller. I played a little bit of it. I'm like, hey, this was really cool. And then by the time I got my own PlayStation, it was around the same time that Crash Bandicoot 2 came out. So I think I got one and the other like for Christmas or something.
Right.
And so it was just, it came as a package deal, at least in my eyes, you know? So like, I think the first time I actually went back to play Crash Bandicoot 1 was like years and years later. We're talking like bargain bin. You know, I went to the like thrift shop and, you know, it was like, why not? I'll just do this. This seems cool. And it's just like, oh my God. I'm so used to, like, I played all the way through 2, I played all the way through 3, and, like, I was really good at it, and I'm like, I can't wait to, like, go back, like, I remembered the whole, like, instead of the rooms or the portals that you get in 2 and 3, you get to go on these islands, and so, you know, it's like, oh, cool, I get to be more a part of the world because I'm actually going to parts on a map or whatever. This is going to be awesome. And while that part of it's really cool and it really puts you in the world, so to speak, rather than just, hey, let me walk through this portal. At the same time, like I never remembered it being that hard. And it's because, like I said, I played a little bit, but I was actually more watching somebody play it than I was actually playing it myself. So like they were good at it. And I apparently wasn't. I was just like, whoa, like talk about like buyer's remorse, because I was just like, this is too hard. And I think it was because I had that like mentality that I had already played all the way through 2 and 3, and 2 and 3 are just such, like, even just from a DNA perspective, they are just such different games. So this is just a weird experience going back, playing it, and just having a completely different experience as far as like, oh, this difficulty is beyond, you know, what I expected. And I also think that it just goes to the way video games were made even just back then, because we're talking about like this game in particular would have been inspired by older games, you know, whether it be Mario, Ninja Gaiden, you know, other kind of platformers like it. And back in the day, they were just made to be super hard as a way to kind of artificially elongate a game. So even though the game, if you wanted to, you could finish it like in an hour, hour and a half, they needed to elongate it some way. And then back in the day, the way they did that is just made games super effing hard. So it was definitely just jarring to go back to it. I almost wish I would have gone all the way through 1 and then 2, 3, because I feel like I would have appreciated it more, kind of like what you were saying is being able to appreciate it. Now, you know, since you kind of bled into your future, I'll bleed into my future.
Fair enough.
Replaying it, I'd have to say the same thing. I do appreciate it more. And I think the reason I appreciate it more is because I see all the little trimmings, all the little like, oh, they took this idea and then expanded in it in the second one and made it so much better. So I'm able to play like some of the levels, for instance, like the ones where you go down the river, and I'm like, oh, dude.
Yeah.
Like this is where the seeds were planted, so that when you're doing hang 8 and you're going on that freaking motorized surfboard or whatever, like yes, like this is where it began. And to see kind of that DNA in the original Crash and being able to now like revisit it, it does kind of bring more nostalgia. You know, back in the day, it was just like, this is too hard. Like, of course I was a kid, so it was just like, this is stupid. Why is this so hard? You know, and it was very much like, you know, undone.
Yeah.
Whereas me as an adult, I'm able to look at it a lot more objectively and just be like, okay, yeah, this is hard, but you know, X, Y, Z. And so, yeah, I just feel like I'm so much more able to appreciate and see all the little, maybe not Easter eggs because it was the first of it, but just see like the trail that they were going on. You know, when I play a level where a boulder's coming after me, I'm like, oh, you know, this is something that they kind of always did, and they just kept making it better and better.
Yeah, yeah.
I think like overall, like for one thing, I think it would have been maybe a little bit better to play like the actual game itself. There were a couple of things in the remaster that playing again is just like, it just didn't feel right.
It didn't feel the same.
Yeah.
Which I know a remaster is supposed to look different and feel slightly different, but well, I guess not really. It's supposed to be remastered, but well, I don't even know what that means. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? Does that just mean make it look like new, or like literally run this new? One, you know,
this one technically is a remake in the sense of it was remade from the ground up.
Yeah.
However, they were able to get the original code of all the levels, which was really cool. Like this one was actually done way differently from Spyro, for instance. This one, they had all the net code, and so they were able to basically take everything and then put essentially just a really pretty coat of paint over it, and then maybe add some extra details like butterflies and things in the background that maybe you didn't notice before, but they really like made it even better. You know, not only that, but obviously, you know, adding like fur and like the way the hair looks and all the little details that, you know, they couldn't have done back in the day because everything was like a polygon essentially. Versus Spyro, this is something that's actually really cool. Spyro, they did it in such an interesting way because essentially they created a program that scanned what was going on in the game. And so in order to scan everything, they literally had to play all the levels, get every single angle. They had like a Reddit or, you know, a forum going, and there are like one or two hidden areas that they didn't know about, but the Reddit people told them about, and they're like, oh crap. So they had to go back to those secret areas and play through them so that they could get the scan for them. So like the way like Insane Trilogy and Spyro were made were just 100% different, you know, and the biggest difference I think is that Crash Bandicoot 1, the way you jumped in it was way different than 2 and 3. But as the trilogy, they unified all the physics and all the jumps. The main problem with that is that all the levels for the original Crash Bandicoot were made off of the original physics and the original jump. So adding in 2 and 3's physics and jumps kind of messes with it a lot. And so there's a huge part of me that's like, I wish I would have been able to go to like a thrift shop, pick up a PlayStation or even just a PlayStation 2 for like $20 and then somehow find a copy of Crash Bandicoot, because there are just little things that like that just really started ticking me off. The biggest things is hitboxes. Hitboxes went from like squares to a more rounded figure, and sometimes that really messed up, especially like on jumps. You know, you would hit a jump, and in the original you'd hit it just on the edge and you would make it. But on this one, the hitboxes are different, so if you hit the edge, you'll hit it and then somehow fall off, and you're like, wait, what?
Yep.
Like, I think the most annoying ones was moving platforms. Now, let me know if this happened to you. But there's tons of times where I would hit a moving platform. I would land on the moving platform. It would start to move at kind of the same time. So it's like I would land and then it would just go without me. And it was because I didn't hit the hitbox just right.
Oh, no, I don't think I had that issue.
You didn't? Oh, you're so lucky, because it's like, that is super effing frustrating. Like, to hit it and I'm like, oh, I made it. And I like, for like a millisecond, I like wipe the sweat off my brow only to have the platform go without me. And I'm like, what the F just happened?
Yeah, no, I don't think I had that issue at all.
Oh, yeah.
If I did, I don't think I noticed it enough.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that is the problem with the remasters as far. Now getting into 2 and 3, we won't notice that as much, hopefully. But, even still, I did start playing a little bit of 2 to kind of start getting ahead. And I definitely noticed some of the enemy hitboxes are slightly different.
Okay.
So it's something to look forward to. Yay. Okay. So, I mean, overall, let's get our final thoughts in about Crash Bandicoot, the original.
Okay.
So you start.
As far as a game that has replayability, if you're a person who wants that 100%, yes. If you're a person who likes pitfall platformers, yes. If you are a moderate gamer looking for something to pass the time, yes. If you're looking for a stay-at-home game, no. This would not be a stay-at-home game. Yeah. Crash is fun in a lot of ways. I would say 3 out of 5 dentists approve of this gum. And it does touch a soft spot in my heart. It's a game from the day. It's just like Mario. It's just like, Sonic. It's Spyro. Yeah. It's those games that are strong pillars in the world of gaming.
Yeah, definitely.
When it comes to the foundation work, these are strong, healthy pillars that helped popularize and industrialize the gaming community in the best ways. So in that aspect, they're still solid. And I'll still stand behind them. And if my kid never finds out that I played him as a kid and he thinks I'm the best at him forever, I'm good with that too.
Yeah. I mean, bringing up your kid, I almost forgot to go back to that. But actually, it was cool because I was playing today and Zoe-Ann kind of just watched me. And instead of being like, oh, Daddy, can I watch YouTube? Oh, Daddy, can I watch something? She kind of just sat there and watched me. And then I would fall. She's like, Daddy, don't fall. And I'm like, I know.
Yes. That is in my opinion, as a gaming dad, that's right. One of the best feelings ever. Is doing that. So off that
keeping
topic,
your kid's attention is like the best thing you could ever do.
Yeah. All right. This isn't Naughty Dog. This is a different game. I'm not going to state the name of the game, but you may know it from what I'm referencing. I play a different game that Alex watches from time to time because he thinks it's interesting. Mm-hmm. And on his Xbox, he has Game Pass, and that game became free on Game Pass. So he got Game Pass.
Cool.
Cool. And I didn't know this. He went and got it downloaded by himself. It's a pretty difficult game. I mean, this is not, this is like advanced for a kid. Maybe not. Maybe not. To me, it is.
Okay, just say the name.
That's Ark. But
okay, gotcha.
But he does do Minecraft. He does Roblox. So maybe this is his thing. So I'm walking through the house and I look over at the screen and what do I see him doing? He knocks out a dodo, opens up the inventory, and he goes, crap, I forget what he puts in the inventory now. And he said it to himself. And I laughed, and I just randomly, I was like, berries. He goes, yes, berries.
It was very nice of you to tell him that.
Yeah, you know, and I just said it nonchalantly, just kind of like out loud. Not to him. Just, yeah, right. I just want to be like, come on, kid, what are you doing? But to see that that's something that he saw me do on a game. And he was like, you know what? Bet I'm going to go do that. And like I said, he's 8. So to me, I am watching my kid grow in gaming. I mean, I started him on the easy stuff like Mario. Oh, I say easy. Get to the water level on Mario and tell me how you do. You know what I mean? Like, bring it. Okay, bring it. But it's a lot of fun, man, to have your kid get into that enjoyment. And Crash Bandicoot, Alex and Dexton both got into it, man. So we're like, hey, what you doing there? Mm-hmm. And they both love Mario Kart. You know, they're Mario Kart enthusiasts. I showed them CTR, and I cannot wait for CTR week. I'm just putting it out there now. Like, these kids are jacked excited. And
they're all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
They're all jacked up on the coot. Yep, still don't think that's an acceptable phrase. I should probably. But no, man, to see my kids go through that phase, and that for me is everything I want. And you're right, man. Having Zoe Ann sit there and just watch you play, it's like, there's no better feeling. It's like, I'm cool. Yeah, that's why I lied to my kid and told him that I'd never played it before. I'm like, yeah, I'm really good at it. What? Bring it.
What?
Beat that score.
I mean, it's a different feeling. It's like the first time you saw him crawl, first time walk, word, et cetera, et cetera. It's just a different feeling because it's like you're so proud of them as a person, you know, for doing those things. But then you start seeing that you're interested in some of the same things you are. Yeah. And then it's like it goes from making it feel good about them, and now it's like you kind of feel good about yourself. Like, oh, like, you like this? This is kind of cool. It's like, it's the feeling I got when Zoe Ann started watching Power Rangers. I was like, are you effing kidding? And not even like new Power Rangers, bruh. I'm like talking about old school freaking Tommy and Kimberly and like, though. I'm like, and the thing is, I didn't even get her watching it. I think she like randomly clicked on it on Netflix or something. And I'm like, oh my God. But this is kind of different because like she actually saw me watching it, and it's like, oh, like I'm endowing that kind of taste on her. Mm-hmm. So like that's something I can be proud of versus when she walks. That's something I'm proud about for her. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, right?
One of my favorite things.
I'm not talking out of my ass.
You're right. No. and when it comes to parenting, like, I don't want to force everything I love down my kid's throat. Like, hey, you got to like what I like.
Yeah.
I like to give them a chance to have their own taste. And, you know, like, we got into Pokemon. I tried Digimon. That was a no-go. Like, I've tried all the little monsters of variety, and my kids are like, Pokemon, Dad. That's where it's at. I'm like, okay, bet. Do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Pokemon.
You eat those balls, bro. You eat those Pokeballs. Eat them. They be on fleek. No, I don't know what the hell I'm saying anymore.
I don't know anymore.
So, but... Again, like you said, to have your kid and enjoy those things that you've enjoyed, it really does make the world. I mean, Disney Plus, the boys, even Nova, they're all watching Gargoyles or watching X-Men. They are not watching the thing, and I didn't tell them to watch these things. They clicked on it and they're like, oh.
Mm-hmm. Which also just goes to show you how some of these things are timeless. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
Obviously, we have a new, fresh coat of paint, and so that definitely makes them interesting. And I feel like if there's one thing that we can get out of the Insane trilogy, is that it's a new generation that gets to enjoy them. Now, I get to enjoy them for very specific, nostalgic reasons. But like, there's a whole new generation of people who are now going to be able to enjoy Crash Bandicoot. And that's definitely one thing that I really enjoy about Insane Trilogy or even the Reignited Trilogy. Because you can't bring up one without the other. You know what I mean?
No, you can't.
You know, it's not Naughty Dog, but like, you know. But seriously, like, I'm so glad that
that's
I
what
get to...
sucks is like you want to throw...
You wish they were Naughty Dog.
You do, because because of their art and graphic style, because of their playability style. It's a natural, in my opinion, it's a natural want to throw in. I mean, that little dragon is just as equal as the coot, man. Well, and didn't Banjo-Kazooie have some tie-in with the coot?
I don't think so.
I don't remember.
I also don't pay attention to Banjo-Kazooie enough to be like, you know, to be a foray into that or anything.
I wanted to say it was like a small character crossover, but maybe not. I could be going like like you said, one of those things where it's like maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Not personally, at least.
It could have been my mom.
Could have been your mom.
She was pretty busy about that time. No, anyway. Yeah, I think that, you know, I think you and I can both agree that for nostalgia, this is a win.
Yeah, definitely. You know, like if we're getting into the more nitpicky things, you know, there are like certain things that do stand out to me. But if we're just looking at the overall of just Crash Bandicoot, if we're going in order, which obviously is what we're trying to do, you know, this is the number one right now, but it's also like, it's a good starting point. You know, it's difficult. It's sometimes like needlessly difficult, if I'm being honest. But once again, that's more the nitpicky or the nitpicky part of me that's like, oh man, why does this platform have to do this instead of that? But once again, that's just, you know, that. But as all in all, good game, good first entry. And that's the one thing that, once again, like, I think going back to is just so interesting, is to just see the little like breadcrumbs, the little seeds that were planted, like seeing a whole level and being like, dude, this is just like in number 2, but then they just made it better, you know. And like that was probably my personal favorite part about it. You know, kind of like I alluded at the beginning, like this definitely won't stay number 1 by any means, but it's like, once again, just a good start. And I mean, it is interesting. So going back to Naughty Dog in general, it is interesting to just see where they started, you know, because one thing we talked about a little bit was the story. I was actually surprised to go back to number 1 and see how little story there was.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a cutscene at the very beginning, and then there's a cutscene at the end. And other than that, you're just going from level to level to level, boss, level,
and chasing the really hot chick.
Yeah.
The hot coot.
Right? Which is funny because they actually technically fixed that in the remaster, because in the original she would just be standing in the bonus stage like, hey, good job, you got to the bonus stage, and that's it. Whereas this time for the remaster, they at least fixed it because they had Cortex take her away,
which I thought was awesome. I don't know what it was. I don't know what about that. It's just like when he came and I was like, wait, no.
Yeah, why? It was so weird that she was always just standing there, because it was just like, hey, good job. All right, bye. It's like, wait. And then at the end, to have you essentially rescue her, it was like, what were you doing the entire time?
You know, I think as a kid, I equated it to being a hologram. I think that's
maybe.
I think that's how my brain took it as a kid.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know. I was a bit slow.
Another thing they absolutely fixed in the remaster is, I don't know if you remember this, but back in the day, the bonus levels were actually how you saved the game. And now that's not
Were those checkpoints?
Those were the way you actually had to save the game. The only way you could save the game is to get to the checkpoint and save it. The most effed up part is that, let's say you went to school and then came back. You'd have to start at the beginning of the level, not where you saved it. It was this weird, screwed up thing that's like, was kind of an afterthought, if you ask me. Because it's just like, oh yeah, I guess we should add in something so they can save it. But here's the messed up thing, and something that I found so frustrating about the original, which I'm glad they fixed in the remastered. Or I keep calling it a remaster. It's technically a remake. But anyways, but the number one thing they fixed, when you died in a bonus level, it took lives away. And
yes,
that was the worst feeling, because not only would it take lives away, but then you couldn't save the game. So it was like, it's like tearing your freaking hair out, because there are some of them, especially when you get further and further in the game, that the bonus levels were almost harder than the level that you were currently in.
Well, one of the last ones I did, like, you have to bounce on single boxes, skipping like every other one to every two, which are dynamite.
Yeah, right.
And then by the end of it all, you have like a super gap where you have to hit like 3. It was stupid, man. All I can say is I died 4 or 5 times or more.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, back in the day, that's just how you had to save the game. So if you just wanted to give up, you had to hope you got through to the next one. Yeah. And it was, now luckily if you continued, you got 4 more lives after game over, and then you continued. You know what I mean? Yep. So you got that, but still having to start back at the beginning of the level was always super frustrating. All right. I think we might agree on it, but most FU level, go.
Ooh, it's got to be late in the game. One of the Cortexes. Oh, geez. Ancient Ruins, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Either the Ancient Ruins, oh, geez, or possibly Powering Station.
Yeah, okay.
And that Powering Station is Cortex Island. That one's friggin' difficult.
Yeah. Well, I thought we were gonna agree on this, but no. The most FU level for me, at least, is the High Road. So the first version of it is the Road to Nowhere, which you're on the little, bridges or whatever, and you just jump from plank to plank to plank or whatever. The first one was bad enough, but then the second one, it adds in this whole segment where you have to jump on turtles in order to get to the next thing. And if you don't hit it just right, then you just fall. And no joke, that one level, just in the first part, because the first part starts with an ice, and then you have to jump to another ice. Then there's a little jump, bigger jump, and so on. But that first part with the ice, I don't know what was happening. I don't know if it was because it was sliding, what was going on. I redid that single part in the very beginning at least 30 times. It was so god-dang ridiculous, because it was just like, and it was like if you go back and watch it, you would almost think I was doing it on purpose, but it's like, no, I was actually trying. It's like I want to put up a compilation of me trying that, and then put that one music, and just like see me like falling over the edge over and over again, like speed it up by like 2 or 4 times, because like, oh my god. So eventually what I did is I cheesed it and I jumped on the ropes and I did it that way. But then sometimes that can even be hard, because the jumping on the ropes can be even more precise than jumping on some of the planks. But I cheesed it. It was like 30 in. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it like I'm supposed to. I'm cheesing it. I'm going on the ropes, and I'm just staying on the ropes the entire time. So it's like I'm running past all the turtles like, F you turtles.
Like, I ain't even doing it. Ain't even worried about the points. I ain't worried about the freaking...
Yeah, the boxes
I don't need no
or whatever.
apples.
You know what really pissed me off? There was a couple, and it didn't happen... you're going to have to tell me if you remember this or not. It didn't happen until later in the game, but there were certain levels that I would get through. I'd get all the boxes. It's like nearly perfect, but you died. I'm like... Screw you, of course I died.
How do you not die?
But it's like, oh, you got all the boxes, but oh well, no gem. I'm like, but I remember specifically that not happening in the beginning levels. So it's like near the end, you have to get all the boxes and you can't die. I'm like, no. You never said that.
Yeah, right. This was an unspoken rule.
I mean, obviously afterwards, but it's like hindsight is not 20/20 in this particular case.
You seeing out your ass there, guy? Because that's really but it's true.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
No,
yeah.
I think overall though, you and I do relatively have the same impression, which hopefully our cohorts of the same generation are following suit with us on that.
Yeah, definitely. So, Uncharted. I meant to say Naughty Dog Games ranked Crash Bandicoot so far number 1. Next week we're going on to Crash Bandicoot 2 and then 3 and so far. So this is going to be every other week. So make sure to come back right here. Check out your God, I did it again. Check out your Naughty Dog ranked. We're going to go through the entire series. I can't wait. You know,
yeah, me either.
There's one in particular that I'm super looking forward to, and I'm also saving it for last. Spoiler alert.
Leisure Suit Larry.
Yep, that's, God dang it, you know me so well.
I don't
but
even
I'm
think
super excited. You know, it's like, hey, let's play a bunch of Naughty Dog games. You know, and having this first one, you know, get it out of the way. Now we get into a lot of the good stuff, and we're gonna start seeing, you know, how Naughty Dog became known for narratives.
Yeah,
and I can't wait for that. Absolutely can't wait for that. So yeah, super excited. Anything to say on our sign out?
Stay naughty, dogs.
That's a good one.
Yeah, you know, I'm full of good ones.
All right, so I was your host, Nick, and...
Hey, this is your buddy, Kevin.
Thank you guys so much for joining us for the Naughty Dog Ranked. So come back in 2 weeks where we're going to be covering Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back. If you like this remix, you can go to EDM Bot on YouTube and check it out. This is the Crash Bandicoot Insanity Beach theme song, Trap Remix by Mershon. Links in the description.
What have I got?